Greetings, KyleUniverse here, and welcome to the Hall of Origins. The video game section of the complex, that is. For this episode, let's take a look at everyone's favorite ruler of the Mushroom Kingdom. Sometimes known as the Damsel in Distress, other times idolized for her ability to stand toe-to-toe with powerful fighters. Princess Peach has been a Nintendo mainstay character for over 30 years, and in that time has become video games' most popular female character. But how did this iconic princess begin her journey? Let's go back a few decades and find out. Okay, I lied. We're actually going back much further than that, because the Princess Peach archetype character has really existed since, well, stories have been around. You know how it goes. A courageous hero saves a beautiful woman. It's as old of a plot as plots get. One could even argue if you wanted to trace Princess Peach's beginnings as far back as possible, it would originate in Greek mythology with the story of Andromeda. Now, if you're not familiar with Andromeda, she was a woman who was said to be very beautiful, more beautiful than the gods. And Poseidon comes forward and is like, "Oh, I ain't having none of that." And basically she winds up chained to a rock to be sacrificed to a monster. That is until the hero Perseus comes to save her. And I just have to say, that is a heroic dive if ever I've seen one. This man totally had a plan. At least I think he did. But yes, this story, more or less, led to what we now know today as the hero rescues woman from monster story. Then, a new form of entertainment came onto the scene: video games. And one of these contributors to pop culture was the little company from Japan, Nintendo. This was the late 70s, so at the time, Nintendo was in the business of creating arcade games. And one of their titles was about to change the gaming world forever: Sheriff. Didn't expect it was going to be that one, did you? If you're not familiar with this game, Sheriff was about, well, a sheriff defending the town from bandits. Your job in this game is to defeat all the bandits, save the town, and rescue the woman that was taken captive. You see where this is going, don't you? Yeah, Sheriff is often credited as Nintendo's first game to feature a damsel in distress, which would serve as a template to a lot of their games going forward. And who was the creator of Sheriff's cast of characters? None other than legendary Shigeru Miyamoto. After Sheriff, Mr. Miyamoto worked on a variety of projects until his huge success of creating the arcade classic Donkey Kong. But what we want to talk about is the spin-off of its spin-off, Super Mario Bros. It is in this game that we are introduced to Princess Peach for the first time. So the story is that evil King Bowser Koopa has invaded the Mushroom Kingdom and transformed all of its citizens into blocks. And the only one who can undo his magic is Princess Peach. So what do you do in this situation? You capture her, of course, and keep her until a hero comes a-knockin'. Miyamoto created an early illustration showing off the game's cast of characters, and a lot of them look much different than how we know them today. Princess Peach at this time had strawberry blonde hair and a long-sleeved pink dress. Not a bad design, but it could use a little improvement. This is where animator Yoichi Kotabe comes in. While Super Mario Bros. Was being developed, Miyamoto asked him if he could create several new illustrations of the game's main characters. When he started drawing Princess Peach, she took on a brand new design. She now appeared much taller, wearing 2 arm-length white gloves and a ballroom-style dress with 2 shades of pink making up its primary colors. Miyamoto also suggested that she be given cat-like looking eyes, and her general expression should look stubborn yet charming. Now, of course, when you look at this illustration, you might say to yourself, "Wow, that looks nothing like her in-game sprite," and you would be correct. Her character in-game is depicted with red hair and a red and white dress. It has been said that the reason why she didn't have blonde hair in the original Nintendo games was because of graphical limitations of the console. I mean, there's a whole bunch of technical talk I could get into, but long story short, it was easier to just give Peach 3 colors to work with. This, of course, is not counting her eye, which is just the black background behind her sprite. But it would become an ongoing choice throughout the lifespan of the NES for her character to have a different hair color from the advertisements. When Super Mario Bros. 2 came out, once again the artwork portrayed her with blondish hair, this time looking a little more dirty blonde, but her in-game sprite now had brown hair. This carried over into Mario 3 as well, when the princess appeared at the end of the game. Brown hair would also be the design that the cartoon series would choose. Yeah, it was kind of weird. Even though the artwork was the go-to look, brown hair became somewhat her official hair color. It wasn't until the release of Super Mario World that her in-game sprite matched the illustrations. I guess I should also bring up that there was another design of Princess Peach floating around that depicted her as a toad. But this iteration was only used once, in a strategy guide released in 1987 called How to Win at Super Mario Bros. Okay, so even though I think this design is much better, this design would have made more sense. She's the ruler of the Mushroom Kingdom after all. From a story standpoint, it probably would have been more logical for her to be a toad as well. Yeah, imagine if that happened and this design was used since the beginning. That would have been completely different. So let's talk about the name change. Ever since her creation, she was known as Princess Peach. But if that's true, why did so many 80s and 90s kids know her as Princess Toadstool? She kept the name in Japan, but when Super Mario Bros. Was localized overseas, it is believed that Nintendo of America changed her name because it had nothing to do with the Mushroom Kingdom aesthetic. However, this has never been confirmed. But it does make sense for her to share an identity that's closer to the game's theme. I can see a bunch of employees at Nintendo of America all looking at Princess Peach and asking each other, what does the name Peach have to do with a world that's mushroom themed? So here in America, we knew her for years as Princess Toadstool, and didn't know any different. It actually wasn't until 1993 when Yoshi's Safari came out that she is referred to as Princess Peach for the first time in a Western game. Whether someone on the localization team slipped up or did it intentionally, not many seem to notice because, well, not many bought Yoshi's Safari. Mostly because you needed the Super Scope to play it. It wasn't until the release of Super Mario 64 in 1996 that most saw her real name for the first time. At the beginning of the game, she writes a letter to Mario and addresses herself as Peach. But I myself first heard the name in Mario Kart 64, where it now said Peach under her picture. I was so confused. So this was the big transition time, where the name Toadstool was phased out and she was being known as Princess Peach in all areas of the world. I will admit I do prefer the old name more, but this is what the original creators intended, so it's all good. And hey, for a lot of gamers, this is also the first time they heard Princess Peach's voice.
The power of the stars is restored to the castle, and it's all thanks to you. Thank you, Mario.
That's Nintendo of America's localization manager, Leslie Swan. However, she only did Peach's voice for a short time. As for her current voice, and I'm speaking as of 2021, when you hear her talking in a game, you're hearing Samantha Kelly, who has been performing her voice since Mario Party 8. Princess Peach not only is the most popular female character in gaming, but also has the record for the most appearances by a female character in gaming, period. And even took the spotlight herself in 2005 when she starred in her own game, Super Princess Peach, where the roles were reversed and she had to be the one to rescue Mario. And you know what? It was good. I mean, it wasn't the greatest thing ever released, but it was successful enough that it could have spun off a series. And I'm not really sure why it didn't, because honestly, Peach is a character that can carry her own series. Things have kind of changed now, and she's not just the person that Mario rescues. Well, I mean, you know, that still does happen, but she's got a strong fan base that would like to see her have her own adventures. She's proven to be one of the most popular Mario characters, if not second to only Mario himself, so I don't think it would be out of the question for her game series to get a revival. Someday. I mean, come on, you can now meet her in person at Universal Studios. Do you see Waluigi getting a walk-around costume? I think not. Well, I mean, he should. But this episode is about Princess Peach, and may she live on forever as the most popular female in video games.